Hey friends and family, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and I know I said that I said this in comments and in answering people's comments and questions. I think I definitely mentioned that my next reading was going to be a year spread for the United States and how, things to look out for, and how we may affect other people, etc. Which I'm still doing it. I wasn't going to release it until tomorrow. I haven't done it yet. I'll do it after this video. But there's been a few things that just popped up that just seem more important and for me to do a read on. So that's what I'm going to do. But before I get there, I'm going to show a few things that are coming next because I'm really excited about, a lot of times I don't know what to do videos on, and if I don't buy a deck, I'm kind of out in the cold because I don't have something to show you. So I have to be very creative often. But recently, maybe because it was around Christmas, and I had just got lucky. I had a little wave of luck. I did have several decks that I was able to show. And so that was cool and that was good. And but it's very hard for me sometimes to know what to do for a video. So I want to show you some. I'm excited because I have ideas for upcoming videos. The first thing that'll probably come, besides the reading that I'm going to do today, I'm going to be doing a reading today. Aside from today and beyond today, a few things that I want to point out that I'm going to be doing. I mentioned that we're not done with perusing the Eliphas Levi deck by Marco Benedetti. What I want to show is the base tarot deck that was used for the Eliphas Levi, and that is the Bernardine Suzanne tarot deck. Now, granted, some of these, I'll take out the 8 cards that Eliphas Levi added to the deck. Bear in mind that Eliphas Levi, his notations are all over the cards, and I'm not an occultist, and I can't speak French, and even if I could, I don't think I could make out his handwriting anyway. But I want to show the Bernardine Suzanne because this is the first time I've had my hands on the Bernardine Suzanne. And so I figure if I always wanted to see it, probably some of you did too. So I will be showcasing it as a Bernardine Suzanne. Now, if you recall, there were additional cards that Eliphas Levi used. And several of them, or I think 5 of them, came from a Spanish, French Alouette deck. The cards look Spanish, but I think it was played in France. So maybe it was, played in the Pyrenees or something like that. But I do have a copy of the Alouette. And so I thought it would be fun to pull the corresponding Alouette cards that Eliphas Levi felt were important to put in his deck. So I have those pulled. And so that'll be another video that I'll do after I show the Bernardine Suzanne. I'll show the Alouette cards. And then, call it a New Year's resolution. I'm not sure if that's what it is exactly. But I thought, towards the beginning of this year, the end of last year, that I really probably would like to go back and look at Lenormand again. Now, I am a tarot girl. There's no question about that. And that's where my heart is, and that's where my love is. However, the thing about Lenormand is that there's no having bias when you read it. Now, I try not to be biased. However, I am the receiver of a message. And if that's the slant I'm picking up on, that's going to be the message, right? I try, for other people in particular, or for public readings, I try to show how to give the most positive slant on something. And and especially if I'm doing a reading for a customer, a client, because a person should walk away from a tarot reading feeling empowered. Not that there's nothing they can do about a situation. In fact, that's what tarot is all about. It's about, not fortune telling, it's about showing alternative thoughts you might not have thought of, or just randomly saying, this month or this wave of period of time, keep this in mind. Could it hurt, even if it's not fortune telling? Could it hurt to think of, see motivation, see an image of something that could motivate you for the better, or something to avoid? I mean, isn't that what daily prayer is? Isn't that what having a sentence for the day, or a proverb for the day, or something to live by for the day? Isn't it the same thing? It's just taking heed and of certain things that might pop up. Now, to do that, since I'm a rookie, now I studied it in earnest. Oh my gosh, I studied till I was dreaming Lenormand, and I've already forgotten it. It didn't stick with me. It's not genetic. It's not in my DNA as tarot is. I could get off tarot and, start it in 6 months, which I can't imagine, but I could. And I can't imagine not knowing how to read. I might be rusty. I might not be up to snuff, but I certainly would understand how to read the cards. But, 6 months after, or a year later, after studying the Lenormand, gone, baby, gone. So I thought I need some kind of cheat sheet. Now I have books that I'll reread, but I thought, wouldn't it be nice to have like a mat, to lay out the cards, because to do a grand tableau, because I tend to like to read a lot of cards at the same time, so I thought, well, it'd be nice to have like a grand tableau mat, so that I could more easily understand what I'm looking at. And, we say sometimes that Google listens to us, the phones listen to us, and the next thing we know, we're seeing ads. Well, I never said it out loud that I wanted to do Lenormand. So the thing that really kind of gets me a little bit is that it's like, I said to my husband and Jess, I'm like, what, are they listening to my brain now? Did they know I said Lenormand in my head? Because what was the first ad that I opened up that day was an Artisan Tarot ad for the Lenormand mat, the cloth, So I was like, wow, that's uncanny. So I figured, well, I guess I'm supposed to buy the mat, because I'm looking for a mat, and there they have a mat. So I purchased it. So I think I haven't given them a love. And I mean, I mention them regularly in many videos, but I haven't focused on them for any of their products in a while. And I want to throw them some light, because this is a lovely mat. I think it costs, somewhere around $30, $35. Hold on. You're going to have to deal with me holding the phone. Now, I know it's probably some type of polyester, but it has a chamois, like a chamois feel to it. It's very soft, and it's real nice. I like it. I like it. So that it has a grand tableau. You use all 36 cards, and each position represents one of the cards. So we have Rider first, Flower second, or Clover, second, and Ship third, etc., etc. And I think what it comes down to is reconciling whatever falls in whatever falls in one house. You have to reconcile the meaning of that card to the house that it falls in. Now, maybe it's the tarot person in me to reconcile cards, like to see meaning, maybe. But I'd prefer to do a grand tableau. So let me randomly pull a card from a Lenormand deck, and I have probably a dozen or more Lenormand decks. And I think, oh my God. That's my eldest son. Oh my God. That was him when he was laying in the little, basket at the hospital where he was born. Anyway, wow. What the heck was it doing in the Lenormand deck? That was a weird place for me to put it. Okay, so I think these cards are in order. So let me go off camera. I'll shuffle them so that I get a really good mix. And then I'll just randomly place a card on the sun spot. And I have to reconcile the meaning of the sun with whatever card lands there. Okay, so in order to get the camera set up and everything, I realized that I can't really use the sun card, which is down here. So I think I decided to use whatever falls on the mice card. And I'm only going to pull one card. I'm definitely not doing a proper tableau. Obviously, I'm only going to be using one card. But I just want to show what it's like, and to just say that I'll be probably doing a few Lenormand readings. So it's different for this channel. I know you come to me for tarot, but every now and then, to keep it interesting for all of us, I like to do something a little different, and so I will do a Lenormand. Okay, so just as an example, mice, what could fall? Whatever we were pretending that it was going, in order, proper order. The sun, wow. Okay, now, the sun, I think, whether it's Lenormand or whether it's tarot, suggests optimism, right? Oh, I don't know if I mentioned that the deck I'm using for this is Bluebird Lenormand, and I particularly like it because, one, you can see at glance what the card is about, plus it says sun right there in case I was obtuse. A lot of decks, they're so full of like stuff that it's like, well, what's the card about, So I appreciate a Lenormand deck that cuts to the chase and just shows us a picture. Now, I also appreciate it as a novice, a newbie, because it gets a little cheat sheet here. The sun is warm and brightens the day. Good luck has begun to come your way. The closer your location, you bask in sweet bliss. Energy abounds in summer's radiant kiss. So I think that despite the fact that the mice card, which suggests theft or maybe gossip or, something that diminishes you in some way, I think it's very optimistic that the sun card would fall on it to reconcile. Now, it could be that something might be, a really good time, might be handicapped by, gossip or theft, something that could be, dangerous. So it could suggest that, now, this is me doing it as a tarot reader, reconciling these two things. Now, this is how you would maybe, interpret this card in this position. But when you put down the grand tableau, you're looking at the cards in relation to each other. I'm just showing how some people think, well, it's really easy. And I think it may be. But there's a lot to remember, So the sun card falling on the mice, and it would entirely depend on the cards that are around it, because this is Lenormand, not tarot. But at a glance, it might, it behoove me to think that like a wonderful time might be overshadowed by something that's unfortunate to happen to you, like a misfortune that you have no control over. But it also maybe could mean that something will be exposed, and then that's a positive thing. So I think it depends on the other cards around it, but I'm just trying to show you. So I think, it's kind of interesting, and I think it would be nice to do a Lenormand read or two every now and then. So that's what I wanted to mention. One of the things I wanted to mention. Another thing I wanted to mention was the reading. Hold on. Was the reading I did for 2025 for myself, not for the condition of anything, just myself. And I said that as months progress, that for those of you particularly who are loyal to my channel, I don't have many, I don't even have 3,000 subscribers yet, but for the subscribers I have, they seem to be very loyal, and boy, I really appreciate them. And So for their benefit, I said that as the months go on, I will comment on the monthly, what's it called? What I saw for each of the 12 months. And I just want to comment on the opening card, the opening spread of 3 cards at the top, which is how I was going into this next 12-month period of time. And what I take with me into the coming year, the current new year. And the cards were the Page of Cups, the Judgment card, and the Devil card. Now, when I did the quint, I got it wrong, and I can't believe none of you called me out on it. Usually people do. I think it's because most of you seasoned readers recognize that whatever the message is that comes through is the message you're supposed to read. So I made a mistake. I said it was the Star card, which is optimistic. So maybe at that moment I needed to see optimism, maybe just to get me through the spread because I was thinking about my health, that kind of thing. So maybe it was just like what I needed to see at that time. But when I, just for the heck of it, did the quint again for that row, it showed death, So I think the read was legit and I spoke what I needed to see at that moment. But now I'm seeing that the quint card for that intro is death, So it's kind of like a little bit like once you know better, you do better, or the message was brought back to me, right? That the spread was brought back to me, Usually I do a read, I stick, I do the read. If there's a mistake, it's just, but that's what it was. That was the message was. I don't usually return to a read, if I'm doing it for somebody else, for example, or if I'm doing one here. I don't, but this was a reading for myself. And so I thought, let me just check. And it was different. So because it's been brought to my attention now, and I see my error, I think I have to recognize that because now I need to see that message. Now, with the Page of Cups, I mentioned that I thought it was kind of like my grandson because I babysit him. And the Devil card was the third card. That in between the Page of Cups, the Page of Cups and the Devil card was Judgment. And I'm definitely guilty, probably, of spoiling him a little bit. All my grandbabies a little bit, but that's what grandmoms are for, right? And but the way I interpreted it was maybe I need to pay attention to something regarding my grandson, or maybe because Judgment suggests being held accountable for something, or seeing the errors of one's ways, or it could also mean enlightenment. Having information, right? And then with the card being death, I was like really curious now to put those things together. Now I think it's interesting because my grandson, the last day he was here, he's here on Thursday, and he was sick. He was vomiting. He vomited a couple times, but he otherwise seemed great, but he was like, he had a tummy thing going on. He didn't want to eat much. I fed him. Grandma has her ways, but he didn't really want to eat much. His usual stuff he didn't want to eat. So I caught something, a couple days later now. He was here Thursday and today is Saturday. So this morning I woke up with a killer headache. I mean, bad headache. Now usually I get migraines, but when I get migraines, I get the aura, and as soon as I see that aura, I go into Nurtec mode, and, I go into prescription mode because you know what, they get bad, and I try to tough things out, but when it comes to a migraine that I have been getting since I was 10 years old, I don't play around. Plus I have an aneurysm, it was corrected, but I'm prone to neurological stuff, so I don't mess around. So I pop that Nurtec. But this morning I woke up around 3 with the headache, and I'm wondering if I missed the migraine phase, the aura phase, because I was asleep, And when you're asleep, maybe, you're not picking up the aura. So by the time I woke up, it had moved into a really bad headache. Now, I don't know if it's a migraine. It could just be a killer headache, But I took like super duper Tylenol. I'm not allowed to take NSAIDs because I have a stent in my brain, and I already take aspirin to prevent me from clotting because, blood coagulates near a foreign object. So I have to take aspirin every day to prevent the stent from coagulating. However, I can't take anything above and beyond that for pain relief, for blood thinners. So I can't take NSAIDs. So the only thing I could take is like maximum strength Tylenol. And Tylenol doesn't do anything. But I don't want to pop out a Nurtec because they're very expensive. And I don't know if it was a migraine or not. So I'm dealing with it. And, I'm just dealing with it. But anyway, getting back to the interpretation, I'm wondering if, going into January, I pulled the Ten of Swords, which I indicated was like stress to the max. You can't get any more stress than a Ten of Swords. And I was seeing it as stress because I've been experiencing stress in my life, I've, experiencing some concern for my health and well-being. I'm definitely preoccupied by the social climate in this country in a big way, and I think that definitely adds to the burden on the mind. I am a worrier as it is, and I think it plays a big role. But I'm also wondering if some of the tension, it could not be, getting back to the first three cards that I laid, getting back to something related to my grandson, and maybe I caught it. So maybe I caught something that's gonna, not do me much good for a little bit, like the Death card. I don't think it's gonna kill me. But it's something that sets me back, sets me back a bit. And so the Ten of Swords could not only just mean the things that I just mentioned, but it could represent a headache, So it's interesting that we're halfway through January, and those are the things, perhaps as the month progresses, I will mention, how the Ten of Swords played a part in my month. And I can't stress enough that with tarot, it's not fortune telling. It's not that I'm going to have bad luck, or it's just that, pay attention to the stress. That's all. Pay attention to the stress. And since I have stress, I can relay that card to the stress that I carry. Okay, I'll be back. And Madhu, I almost forgot. Another thing upcoming that I'm going to have a lot of fun with, doing a video with, is a package. And I have not opened it yet. It's a tarot deck that was a movie prop. And I scored. I got it. I got this deck. And it kind of came to me. When I showcase it, I will tell the story, the very interesting story that goes along with this particular deck. But I'm not telling you what it is because I want you to stay tuned. Okay, now for today's reading, and we're at the 23-minute mark. Thank you for hanging in there that long. For those of you who did, I know most of you don't, and that's okay. All right, people hear what they need to hear, see what they need to see. And not everybody wants a lesson, I was a teacher in my real life world. Well, this is my real life too. I was always a tarot reader, tangent to being, an educator, but I needed to bring consistent, reliable money into the house with 3 kids, 2 of them I had 3 kids in 3 years. No wonder I'm crazy. And, so I had to have reliable benefits, healthcare had to be covered. I had to have the summer off, I really had to have a good muggle job for me. And I'm a natural teacher, I think. And I can't help myself because I just teach. This is an educational channel, and I think I can't help but participate with tarot if I have a public even when I do readings for people, I kind of teach a little bit, because they're curious and they want to know what something means. And not too long ago, I guess within the past 3 or 4 months, I did a reading for a gentleman in person. He wasn't online. I was in a social situation, and somebody mentioned that I was a tarot reader. And they asked me if I wouldn't mind reading the cards for a few people. Well, I think it ended up that I read cards for like 5 people. And I don't I did it for nothing. I didn't charge them. I usually always charge people. One of the things I say is don't do free readings, because when you do free readings, people don't put a worth, put value on it, and it's easy to get taken advantage of. But I knew I'd never see these people again, more than likely. And they were they weren't family themselves, but it was at a family thing. So as a courtesy to my relative, to my family, I did these readings for these people. And it was fun for me. I enjoyed it. I always have cards. They're like, Marilyn, do you happen to have a tarot deck on you right now? And I looked at them like, are you serious? Yes, I have it. I have multiple tarot decks on me. So I think I had the Noble and the Ancient Italian Tarot on me that day. And so as the people came into the room, because I did it separate. I didn't do it in the party room. I did it, them and I, private, and I let them choose which deck you wanted. And everybody chose. I had like 4 women, and they all chose the Ancient Italian Tarot, And then I had one gentleman at the end, and he wanted the Noble, which I was like, cool, So, and at any rate, all of them, that resonated with something I said. And the last fella that I did, the gentleman, I could tell, I totally could tell that he was the one that was the hardest sell. It was like, tarot, that kind of thing. He wasn't rude. He was very polite and respectful and courteous. I wouldn't have read for him if he wasn't. But, if you can like sense somebody a little bit, he was all those things, but he also was my biggest skeptic. He didn't say that, but I kind of felt it. So when I did the read, he resonated with much of what I said, but I think to some degree he was, skeptical, because at the party before we started to do the tarot readings, a little bit of his private life was discussed in the crowd, And I just happened to be present, and I heard some of it, So and that stuff came up, But I think to some degree he kind of felt like, well, you kind of heard what was going on, so it's easy for you to apply the cards that way, and that's a valid point. But they just happened to be there, So I just said to him, I said, this is not about fortune telling. It's not. Tarot, and I don't always explain it to people. As I do a reading, I try to mention it, but because I want them to understand that they have free will and that it's their responsibility to live their life. It's not my responsibility or a deck of cards' responsibility to tell you how to live your life. But I don't go out of my way to explain how every single one of these cards can be related to humanity. The cards themselves were invented in order to, first of all, upgrade a common game of cards, so that if you're going to play cards, at least let it have some virtue. So that the triumph cards were added in order to make it more virtuous, or to show you pitfalls in life and stuff like that. Now, the way I read the pip cards and the court cards, I didn't have origin stories to assist me, because that's how I learned. I learned it I tried to find origin stories. But the pip cards, I just developed a way to understand pip cards. It's not the way universally done. A lot of people don't do it that way, and I do. So, and I do it with a TDM deck, which is kind of I'm an American, so maybe it's a little bit different, because I didn't have the benefit of growing up in Europe, where TDM was all over the place. Or pip style cards were all over the place, tarot decks. So I didn't pick anything up by osmosis. I just had to teach myself. And now it's so ingrained in me. It's just how I read the cards, But it's a good system, and it's one I use consistently. And I think that's the most important thing, is just to use things consistently. But at any rate, I got off the track. I just said to him, every single card that I could pull, guaranteed, has something to do with your life. I can't miss, because they express the way, if you do number and suit, and then if you do the triumph cards, they express every human feeling you could ever have. So when I interpret the cards, you're guaranteed to be able to relay that to something in your life. And I think that was like a for him, because he really heard that. And, I said, I can't go wrong. It's my little trade secret here, because the cards, and it's not even a trade secret. Like I said, I mention it to people. And I mention it here many, many, many times, that the cards that are played or laid out are things to consider, not necessarily because we want to affect the future, but we want to have the best future, And so the way to have your best future is to make it. And so the cards could suggest ways to improve your life during that period of time. Take it or leave it. Okay. Now to the reading that some of you are here for. We're at the 31-minute mark. If you're still here, thank you. I appreciate you. If you haven't taken the moment to give me a thumbs up or a subscription, please do that. Since if you're here for 31 minutes, it probably means that something I'm saying is of value to you. Once again, I'm going to throw the Artisan Tarot group a little love. I'm using for this demonstration their Jerger deck, which is a Besançon style deck. It was created by a German card maker, and I really like it. As I said, it's a Besançon, which means we don't have the religious references. We have Juno and Jupiter. Okay, they were gods and goddesses. They were god and goddess, but they're more of a secular thing, or they were of ancient god and goddess, so they just become more like concepts. So we're going to use those in place of the female pope and the pope, and I kind of like that because it takes the politics out of the deck of cards, out of the tarot, because the pope and popess are, in those days, no one had more power than the pope. The church had a lot of power, right? So they were the political influence. Yeah, they were emperors, but the pope for the Catholic cultures have carried a lot of weight. So the fact that religion is taken out of this deck, and just the concept of maybe what they represent, is something that I like, especially since this reading and the next reading, which will be a year's cycle for the United States, I'm going to use this deck for that too. But for this read, the thing that presses me, the whole point of this video, is the fires in California. It just, I guess I've been to California, about 6 times in my life. And I go back because I love it there. It's beautiful. It's next to Hawaii. It's really nice, And they have so many wonderful things in California. They have the redwoods, they have, I think part of Yosemite's there, no? And at the redwood forests, and then they just have great weather, and they have old Hollywood. I love old Hollywood. I love classic film. And when I go, there's 2 things I do. I look for Hollywood graves, to pay homage to my favorites. This past couple months ago, when I was at that party, we were in California, and we were in kind of near Palm Springs, and we took the opportunity to go to the, Hollywood, away from Hollywood, the Desert Springs, Hollywood grave sites. And I saw my favorites. I saw some of my favorites. I saw William Powell and his wife, was next to him and with him and his son. And I love William Powell. Oh my God, I'll watch any movie he's in, even if it's stupid, just because he's in it. I love him so much. And then my husband saw Frank Sinatra, who was his, they grew up in the same neighborhood, you know. So they're really close to one another. So, you know, there's that. And he's Italian, of course. He loves Frank Sinatra. And he's an older gentleman too. And a lot of people, you know, that are there. I forget everybody that we saw, everybody's graves that we saw. But yeah, and then on other trips, we go through the neighborhoods. We go to the old Hollywood neighborhoods, you know, the people who built the homes in the 20s, you know, and so much of that is gone. It's history. It's our heritage. And I know I've seen some hateful remarks of people who say, oh, this devastation happened to rich people. Why should we care about rich people? Well, for one, they're human beings. You know, that's the first thing. And they're having a very human experience, you know? And for people who are hateful of rich people, you know, they have money, why should I care? It's like some of them came from trailer parks. Some of them came from nothing. And they became successful. And why should any of us begrudge their success? Don't you want success for yourself? I'm not talking to you personally, because if you're here, I'm preaching to the choir. But you see what I'm saying? It's like, my response to that is, well, we all want to be successful. So because they succeeded, we can't care about them? Many of them give $1 million to charities, right? We could never give that kind of money to a charity. So it's not like they're not giving, you know. And many of them don't forget where they come from. They don't forget. They know where they came from, and they donate to many, 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 many causes. And if you can't have an understanding like that, what was the last, have you never gone to a movie? Have you never turned on your television set? Because if you have, where do you think that entertainment comes from? Chances are really good it comes out of Hollywood. So they have enriched your life in some way. And if all of that doesn't matter to you, just think of them as human beings who've lost their homes. Yeah, many of them have homes in other places. But many of them, despite all those other places, this was the home where the heart was. And this is where they raised their kids. And this is where they lived for the past 45 years. So yeah, they might have another place to go to, or they could go to a fancy hotel somewhere. But they lost their home. That was the home, just like our homes belong to us. It's no less devastating, you know. So yeah, this reading is going to be about California. And I think I want to ask, if I might, get, you know, insight into what started this blaze. Now, it's possible that there was, you know, multiple spots that caught fire at the same time. Their state is is a volatile condition right now. They have those serious winds. I think they got up to 100 miles an hour. They are dry as a bone. Most of it's desert, right? I mean, so it's like, it's dry as a bone, and there hasn't been rain. And it's a tinderbox out there. And history, fortunately, there's only, I think they've only realized 11 deaths. You know, 11 deaths is 11 too many. And boy, that's a shame, you know, and my heart goes out to their families and everything, you know, for what they have contributed to the world and what they have now are unable to contribute. And many of the people there are just regular folk who just happen to have property there. You know, I have a student who lives out there, and I was really happy to see her contact us, you know, to say she was okay. But she's just regular folk. She's out there. She's, you know, living out there, and she actually started a GoFundMe for a family that she knew who lost everything. At this point, my student hasn't lost anything, but her family that means a lot to her lost everything, and she started a GoFundMe, and so if you trust the person who's doing a GoFundMe, if you trust them, then and you know them, it's probably a good start. I didn't have any qualms about donating to this family because I knew it came through my student, and she's good people, But you do have to be very careful. But with that, we should, we should do what we can. If it's throw $20 in an envelope and, or whatever you can afford, put it out there, and. Like I live on the East Coast, that's the West Coast. I can't fly out there. I can barely walk, so I can't go out there to pick things up or go through the devastation. But I can send a couple of bucks, and I can pray, and I could do spell work for them, which I'm doing, And so I want to go into my meditative place, and I ask the universe for things we should consider. That might have been the cause of this fire, or things to consider so it never happens again. I'm not looking for blame. There's plenty of blame. Not looking for blame. I'm not looking for how could this happen, the money wasn't appropriate. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for how did the fire start? Was it natural? Was it man-made by accident? Was it arson? What was it? And then maybe what can we do to prevent this from happening again? All right, probably one of the reasons that I'm so chatty today is my medication for the pain. And not the medication for my head pain, the medication for my body pain, which is substantial. And so many days I take medicine to help me with body pain. And I think that makes me chatty. But just say it 1 or 2 times. I've already done it in my meditative place. But the source of these fires, what should we consider regarding these fires? How it started would be helpful, because then we'll know how to prevent it from happening again, if it's within their power. Okay, first card, 3 of Swords, facing down the sword. Now, I'm not doing multiple rows, so I don't have the benefit of knowing what's pointing down, but I could maybe, take this card maybe in a more assertive sense than maybe I would this way. This way I would see it as a breakthrough, a release, right? Here, it's more like putting a stake in the ground, taking some action, So this is a card number 3 for me. It's a card of growth, and swords could be of the mind. It could be action also. It could be communication, but we need to pay attention to, could be electricity, could have been electrical sparks on the line, It could be that. It could be something that's staked to the ground. It could be electrical wires. That's a possibility. 7 of Cups. Well, 7 is a number of progress. It's also an escalation of emotion. It's an unstable number, so it could be, it's a very extremely emotional period of time. Okay, very emotional. Now we're asking about, what started it. Could it have been an accident that happened as a result of somebody or something, that was going through a very emotional period? Oh, shucks. And a gentleman trotting away. Wow. Maybe there was more than one thing. Maybe it was started by a young man. Now, usually when we see the knight, anybody from the suit of coins, for me, they're the most stable fellas, people. They're practical. They're usually successful. They usually, but they get there through hard, study. It's usually, for me, it's like cerebral success. So to see a young man of promise leaving a situation that I've already suggested might have had an emotional origin, who is like, it's following a card of like taking a stand. Now, it could also have to do with electricity. It could have to, maybe whatever he did, maybe he, affected the electrical lines some way. Or it could just be that we should consider that he just took a stand. He drew a line in the sand and he decided that this, in an imbalance of emotions, that this was something that he needed to do. And then he removes himself from the equation because he understands the urgency. That could be. So we have 3 and we have 7, so that's 10. That would be the Wheel of Fortune. I don't think I messed that one up. Let me pull the Wheel of Fortune. Now, the Wheel of Fortune in the context of what's going on in California, the first most obvious interpretation or understanding is that it's a change of fortune. It's a change of luck, right? So, and the notice that the wheel is turning this way, so the luck has changed for whatever this is, and that's for the worst, right? The luck has changed. So that's the obvious thing. Another way to look at it is that, hopeful, because time moves on and, things will change. There's no cards of rebirth here or anything like that, but in a time of destruction, you could see a change in the wheel. Represent, if you're having really bad luck, then the opportunity that the change that the wheel might bring might be for the positive. I mean, they've had bad luck, and if they survive, they have an opportunity to change the luck and to make it better. There's that, and maybe there could be a suggestion that there is a great need for change. Now, in the context of this question, what would the need for change be? Well, in part, there might be more than one source of fire. Some of it could have just happened spontaneously if there was arson. And I haven't heard anything about arson yet. It's possible, but it might not be, right? But if it turns out that there's been any suspected arson, then the change we need to bring, and it's turning in the direction of the person who seemed to have advantage, but still decided to do something horrendous. Maybe the wheel facing that means we need to bring change to mental health care. The suit of pentacles, or the suit of coins, rather. I don't know why I said pentacles, but the suit of coins certainly has to do with well-being of the mind, as well as this. But this is like, a different type of mind. This is like critical thinking kind of mind, not like sharp-wittedness kind of mind. This is like, you would feel like this individual knew better. So if this person doesn't know better, then trying to reach these kinds of folks is a start in a direction that we could consider. And I want to go off camera for a few minutes to think it through, because there was something else that came to me and I kind of lost my train of focus, and I want to mention it if it comes to me within the next few minutes. Well, it's not coming to me, but another way we could take that Wheel of Fortune as the Quint card would be, this too shall pass, and there's a sense of being able to get through it. The 42 card isn't showing up in here, but the message could be, if we're ending it on an optimistic note, that which doesn't kill us makes us stronger. That's a quote from Nietzsche. And so, I say it a lot because it seems to fit the bill a lot of times in life. If it doesn't kill you and you got through it, it's only going to make you stronger. Okay, so that's it. 50-minute conversations. I hope you don't mind. This is for my descendants as much as it was for my contemporary subscribers and audience, because it's important that they understand how my mind ticks. If they're interested in learning about me, then sometimes these videos get personal, and it gives them an idea of how I think and how I thought of current events as they happened in real time. That might be another reason why I like to do readings for this channel on current events, or, because I'm conscious of the fact that in time, let me flip the camera. In time, and ideally, this channel is for my descendants, and in time, and, there may be a moment where one of them tunes in to just see what I'm about. And it's important sometimes for them to see videos like this so they understand where I'm coming from regarding particular issues. Okay, until next time, friends, it's going to be tomorrow, and you're going to get your, I'm going to do a yearly spread for the United States, 12-month, and I'm going to be doing it not in a circle, but like to show the next 12 months. And I think I'm going to use the Jerger deck because it's, it's not as political, everything's political, so I kind of want to downplay the politics a little bit. Anyway, that'll be tomorrow. Until next time, friends, peace, stay well, be kind.